Hi everyone, welcome to the Daily Signal. I'm joined by Eric Bowling, who is the host of AMericA on CRTV. Eric, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're
It's
excited.
exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're very excited about this. I want to start with who you are. Our viewers and listeners absolutely love you. Who is Eric Bowling? I know you had some baseball in your past, some commodities training. How did you end up in media and politics?
Good question. Baseball, an injury led me to I need a job. I'll take anything. And at the time, my girlfriend's father was an oil trader in Boston, and I went up there and said, I'll do whatever I can do to work. And he put me on, and I really loved the Wall Street excitement. We were in Boston, but I realized that the heartbeat of finance was New York.
Right.
And so I just did what I had to do to get down to New York and started working on a trading floor as a commodities trader, solo, just for myself. You know, I'll never forget the first week. It was the third day trading ever. I lost every penny I had in my name. To my name, I went home, I closed the door of my apartment, pulled the shade down, called my mom and said, Mom, I guess I'm not cut out for this. It's not gonna work. She said, you know, she always says, never quit, just keep going. I went back on the Monday and got myself back on my feet, and I spent the better part of 13 years on the trading floor, becoming probably the biggest natural gas trader, individual trader in the world. And so the moral of that story is never quit, and she was right. I'm on the trading floor one day, and oil prices are going up, and CNBC, for the first time ever, was on the trading floor. And they happened to catch me with a camera and a microphone and said, what's going on? And I just gave them like my best 90 seconds, and they loved it. And they said, can you do this again tomorrow? And then tomorrow became, can you do this every day for a while? And then I was called to CNBC offices in Secaucus, New Jersey, and they said, we want to do a new show about the life of trading, and we want to call it Fast Money. I said, sign me up, I'd love to do it. And we did that for a while. The interesting thing was, I was at CNBC, 5 o'clock. Years later, I got a call from Fox. Alexis Glick was working at Fox, and she brought me over and met with Roger Ailes and Neil Cavuto and Kevin McGee at the time, and they said, we want you to do a show on the business network. I said, great. The show ended up being 5 o'clock. A couple years after that, Roger Ailes, or Glenn Beck left, and Ailes had no one to put in that 5 o'clock hour, and he put 5 names on a piece of paper, passed it over to Bill Shine. Shine says, okay, I'll get it done, and that was the 5. And that was July 11th of 2011. Yeah. And I've always been at 5 o'clock, and you know, and I literally did not plan this. I planned just about everything to do with this show, with the exception of one thing. I let CRTV figure out what time we're going to air live. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
I've never been on TV other than 5 o'clock.
5's the lucky time.
I'm like stuck to 5.
Well, this past year has been a year of transition. You left Fox News. You also heartbreakingly lost your son. We spoke about it at CPAC this year. You have been doing some incredible work about the opioid epidemic. What has it been like working with the Trump administration on this?
Yeah, it was very good at first. Well, we talked about this prior, but the day after my son passed of that accidental opioid overdose, the phone rang and President Trump was calling. And he said, Eric, if there's anything I can do, if there's anything Melania and I could do, say the word. I was in such a tailspin, I hardly remember the conversation, but I remember that he had reached out. A couple weeks later, it was Thanksgiving. And that empty chair, and we're all going over to the table and have Thanksgiving dinner with the empty chair, and the phone rings again. Now, I know it's going to be miserable. Phone rings, it's Trump again. Like literally his timing was amazing. So I realized, this was November of 17, I realized that he really cared about people. He had more empathy than people were giving him credit for. I've always liked him as the commander-in-chief, but he never gets credit for that side of him that people don't see, that he cares about people, I mean, especially kids. I mean, children he adores. So anyway, at that point, I'm like, can I come speak to you about this crisis? And he said, yeah, sure. And I got involved in it. I think their initial push on the opioid front was law enforcement and penalizing, like, you know, drug dealers and things like that. And I said, look, there's a whole other side to this. There's the demand side of it. Now, I mean, most conservatives don't want to hear about this, but you know, you have to treat the demand. You have to treat addicts as kind of victims. We don't want to treat them as criminals. We want to treat them as needing help. So we have to address the supply side of it, how much cheap opioids are coming in, but also why are people using more and more and using stuff that's killing them? And there are a lot of reasons for it, one of them being China, sending over fentanyl, and literally about 2 or 3 grains of salt of fentanyl can kill you. So people don't realize it. So I got them to at least look at both sides of it. I think they're doing a better job. Not I'm saying great, but a better job with it. Opioids are a tough thing to talk about because most people don't understand what that means. Most people think heroin. It's not. Most of the people who are dying of opioid overdoses are dying from a pill or too many pills, or a pill that is something that they don't think, or they're mixing pills. So we got involved in that. Trump administration has been great. It's been very hard dealing with this, but the upside is that I've had a lot of parents say, I'm glad you're at least using the tragedy to help others. I've had so many parents say that they're having the conversation that they were never going to have, or too embarrassed to have, or just never thought their kid needed it because he or she was too smart or too good of an athlete or too popular. It didn't matter. People were dying. All of those types were dying. Everyone's dying of opioids. 64,000 people dying of drug overdoses. One last thing on this is that God blessed me with one thing, the ability to talk to people. I got a call after I was on Morning Joe one day. I got a call from a NASCAR race group, Rick Ware Racing, and they said, we want to get more involved in opioid awareness. We'll put an opioid awareness message on our race car. It's a real NASCAR race car. And I said, that's phenomenal. What do I do? And they said, just come and help us talk about opioids and do the media and talk opioids. And we did that. And there's at Talladega, 2 months ago, there was a car that was going around the track for 3 hours with the opioid messaging on it. 2 weeks from now in Daytona, I'm part of this bus tour that we're going to launch. We're stopping in Daytona because the car is going to have opioid messaging on it again. What that does is it creates awareness. It removes some of the stigma of opioids and creates awareness so people can have the conversations and ask for help. Yes. So I hope to be able to save a few lives because, frankly, my wife and I as parents, we're just broken. We're just broken. The only thing that's going to kind of put a Band-Aid on the hemorrhage is if lives are saved. Right, and along with moving the stigma, I've seen you talk about this a lot, it doesn't discriminate. I mean, it can be your next door neighbor, someone on your soccer team. I can't tell you how many people who, when they first died, they look at me with, your son died of an opioid overdose, and they're thinking something, whatever, it doesn't matter how you die, he died. But then later on they'll come, my neighbor or my neighbor's son or my niece, is either dying or has died from, it's touching so many people. You're right that it really happened where I met you the first time at CPAC. I got off the set with you. I was standing there, and it was right after I had done the opioid speech on the CPAC stage. I was surrounded by young people. It wasn't even. It was under 30, and they all had a story. Wow. My best friend, my brother, 2 of my cousins, either are dying or have died from opioids. So what I realized then, I told Matt Schlapp at the time, I said, you're tapping into something that matters to younger people, younger voters, people who care. Us older folks don't even realize how prevalent it is in your generation, in millennial generation, and how much it means to millennials. Right. And something that's happened throughout your work on the opioid epidemic is that you've gotten to spend some time with President Trump and the administration. What is he like behind the scenes? What do you think specifically the media misunderstands about him? I think I touched on it. He really has a ton of empathy. He cares about families, the family unit. He cares about children. He cares when people are hurting or dying because they've lost someone has died in the family. He has so much compassion for those people. And all you see, and it's kind of his own fault because you see, and he's a tough guy on Twitter. He's a tough guy on TV. He talks, you punch me, I'll punch you back harder. But he's got a side that no one really sees, and I hope I'm not blowing it for him, but it's a soft side, a heartfelt side that, frankly, I've known him for the better part of 12 or 13 years, maybe more. I never saw it before, ever. Now, just today, Justice Kennedy announced that he is retiring. I remember all during the 2016 presidential campaign, you specifically pointed out how important it was to elect President Trump, if not for just the Supreme Court openings. Right. How monumental is this? Yeah, massive. And at the time, here's what was going on then. So I had, the day Donald Trump and Melania came down the escalators at Trump Tower, June 16th of 2015, I said, that guy's going to be the next president. People said I was crazy. Fine. I was on shows and people called me nuts. And people said, you're just doing it because you like him. And I said, no, I think he's got something. I think he's going to be the next guy because people are paying attention to him, and he's got something different, right? And for a long time, that was what I saw. I thought he could improve the economy. At one point, it got so tiring to continuously get beat up by 4 and 5 people on my own network who never saw the vision of Trump, beating me up senseless. I finally said, okay, look, go do it this way. You're conservative, right? And they're mostly conservatives. And they say yes. And I said, well, vote for Trump because at least 1, maybe 2, and a possibility of 3 Supreme Court justices could be replaced in the next 2 presidential terms. And everyone kind of shut up because that, even if you didn't like Trump, as a conservative, you better do it. And George Will coming out saying don't vote Republican is an he's a jerk for doing it. He should just admit what he is. At best, he's an independent. At worst, he's a liberal. Just admit it, because this is a prime example. Just because you don't like Trump, you have Trump. He truly has Trump derangement syndrome. Okay, that guy has it. Because look, now love Trump or hate Trump, you got to like him for the economy. But put that aside. You now have when he does replace Justice Kennedy, you will have a Supreme Court for my lifetime, maybe your lifetime, that's conservative. Yeah. And if Ruth Bader Ginsburg decides to spend the rest of her time on a golf course, we'd all be happy too, and then it would definitely be your lifetime. And
look how important Gorsuch has been in the Supreme Court cases this week. They were all 5-4.
Yep, so all 5-4. And some would say Kennedy didn't always vote exactly the way, and so now if you replace it with a true conservative like Gorsuch, or I don't even consider John Roberts that conservative, but I think we're in very good shape. And when it really comes down to it, we're going to turn over this country, this government, this economy to you, to your generation. I feel much, much happier now than I did yesterday or the day before Neil Gorsuch was sworn in.
Absolutely. Well, shifting gears a little bit to your show, why don't you tell us about it? How did you come up with the concept, and who are you trying to reach?
Okay, great question. For years, I've clearly known that my name is right in the middle of America. Eric is right in the middle. And so 6 or 7 years ago, I pitched the network, a network, not to be named, I used to work for, this idea of the show called AMericA. It just made a lot of sense, and we're going to talk about empowering Americans and how great America is, and the Constitution. They never bought it. That same day, we were at CPAC in February. I happened to be talking to that group of young people around, and CRTV had a booth right next to yours, or maybe 2 or 3 down, and the CEO came over and said, "I'd love to talk to you about doing a show on CRTV." I said, "I have an idea. It's called AMericA. My name's right in the middle. Put the big America and just make my name a little smaller because no one's bigger than the country." Because I love it. Let's talk about it. And that was February, and we went through a lot of ideas. And about 2 months ago, I said, Gaston Mooney, Gaston, let's do something different. I don't want to do a studio show. I mean, there's so many studio shows. I mean, yes, maybe we'll have a following, and I'll get a bunch of people from the administration to come out, and we'll get people to sign up for the network. I said, but let's do something interesting. Let's do it from a hotel lobby bar. I said, what do you mean? And he thought I was kidding. And I was like, no, I mean it. Let's do it from a hotel lobby bar. What are your ideas? I said, well, active people. When do you talk about politics? You talk about politics when you're at the bar. It's one of the, you're at the dinner table sometimes. Maybe some people don't like to. I do, but at the bar when you're watching a game or something with your friends, and so let's talk smart, high-level insider politics from an active bar. Yep. And he said, I love it. Let's see if we can do it. And I'd be honest with you, an hour before we're taping, we finally got the signatures that we all needed from legal on both sides, and this wonderful hotel. By the way, there were 5 or 6 venues that wanted the show. This was great because we're 3 blocks from you.
Yes.
We're 3 blocks from the White House. We're 3 blocks from the Capitol building, and about 7 blocks from the White House. And 2 blocks from Union Station. This is the perfect location. We were hoping that we could do this one. They came and said, we're going to, make this great, and so. Yeah. It's
a fantastic location. We're at the Washington Court Hotel.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
So
we held off for a long time.
Congratulations. We did, so announcing that.
Thank you.
Now, to kick all of this off, though, you're going on a bus tour.
Right.
What is that going to be like?
So this was Gaston's idea. He's like, why don't we start this whole thing by just touring the country? I'm like, that's a great idea. So what we're doing is we have, one of those big buses, like a real legit full-blown bus that's wrapped with the show logo on it. Inside, it's really nice. But we're going to, first show is going to be a Heritage. We're going to the roof of Heritage. Now we're going to leave DC on 4th of July. We're kicking off the hoopla on Independence Day, obviously. It's called AMericA, right? Yeah. And then the first stop will be in Greenville, South Carolina, at an airport hangar, at the airport in a hangar. And my vision was pull the bus up the way, you know, Trump, how he used to pull his airplane up behind the podium. Yes. And we're going to do a show right from there. We're going to have a bunch of people. South Carolina just, you know, is one of the biggest sign-ups of the new show are people from South Carolina. We're going to have the bus, the thing. We're going to do a whole Q&A. We're trying to get some senators out there. We're trying to get Lindsey Graham. Probably won't show up. I don't blame you, Lindsey, but if you do, come. Hope you do. I'm not a huge fan of Lindsey Graham. Sorry. All right. Then the next day, we're getting in the car, the bus right after the show on Thursday, and we're driving to Daytona Speedway, where we have 2 shows. The first show is a Friday, and we have the bus, the race car I told you about, that's going to be going on Daytona Speedway. We'll have the bus, the race car. We're going to set up a big, you know, music and barbecues, and we're just going to have a blast. We have a drone camera that's going to take pictures of the whole thing. That is Friday, and then Saturday is the big race day. So we're going to we have this. The first 2 ever African-American women pit crew ever to work at NASCAR are going to come out to the show and change the tires on the race car, and they're going to expect me to do it too. I'm sure they're going to kick my butt.
That's fantastic.
So that's Friday and Saturday. And then we're taking the bus over to the Florida-Alabama border, Floribama, and pulling up beachside. We're going to do just a beach party. You know, some of these guests aren't locked down yet, but there are a lot of people who say they're going to come out. And then on the way back, about a month ago, a guy emails me and says, you know, I'm a big fan of you at Fox or wherever you used to work, and just my family's always loved what you've been doing. I own Travel America truck stop, whatever, rest area in Greenville, Tennessee. Would you stop here? I'm like, you know, why not, right? It's on the way home from Alabama. We're going to go right past the truck stop. Why not? We're making it an official show, and we're going to do the same thing there. We just open it up, have people come out. We give away a bunch of hats and koozies and books, and just have a blast to get the pulse. We're going to talk politics all the way through. I mean, I want to talk to people about what their politics are, what they like, what they don't like, what they see happening. So it's going to be very political, but it's going to be so much fun. And I hope to bring all the politics that we do here, and as much of the fun as I can possibly bring here too. Can you imagine having a cabinet secretary sitting across the bar from me doing a discussion about trade or taxes or whatever, and then we say goodbye, and then we go talk to people and say, did you like that? Did you get it? I mean, it's just, I love the concept.
Well, it would make it so engaging and interactive. So I can't wait to see it in practice. I want to ask you next, right now, civil discourse is at an all-time low. A lot of people are saying Pam Bondi's being harassed, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. How are you hoping that your show kind of cuts through that and talks to both sides?
I don't know. And you know, we had this discussion. I'm going to do a Facebook Live. It's going to be up soon. And I wanted that to be the topic of it, because it's happening on both sides. You know, it's not just Pam Bondi being harassed, she was, or Sarah Sanders being discriminated against, she was. Right. But it's also, you know, like Milo saying things like kill journalists. The rhetoric has been so heightened right now. The bifurcation has been as wide as it's ever been in American politics. I don't think a show like mine is going to be able to fix any of that, or I'm not even going to try to fix it, but I will certainly hear what people think about it. You know, if there might be a situation where the people who come out to the show and watch it and are in the back of one of the, you know, the shots and are waving, that's fine. No one's going to tell you not to do it. But if they may have an opinion that they like it divided, or they may say, I'm sick of divided politics, but we'll certainly take the pulse. I don't have a plan of where we're going to fall in that, you know, how far right or how far left we're going to be, or what we're going to try to do as of yet. Right. We'll see what works. Something that I like to ask a lot of people I interview who are in media, who are in politics, what advice would you give to young people, young conservatives who want to get involved? Well, so I started with business. I started CNBC because we were talking about oil and energy, but I realized how much I enjoyed politics. I just loved politics. I noticed myself coming off the business set and watching the news channel, you know, and just getting into what was going on with, you know, with the 2008 election, the 2012 election, I just loved the politics, and I made the switch. I went to the bosses there and said, look, I want to get more into the politics side. Follow what your dream is. I mean, don't get pigeonholed into something that people think you should be in politics, but you really want to do sports, or I want to do the weather. Just do what you love. If you can come to work every day, it's a cliche, but it's so true. If you come to work every day and not feel like you're working, you're winning.
Eric Bowling, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.